Mark is a world-class kickboxing trainer at Greubel's Mixed Martial Arts. He's not only a trainer, but a founder of the brand Double Jab Fight Company. We will dive into the story behind the man who has produced one champion after the next. It'll be exciting, insightful, and a sure to pack a punch. Join OpenMic and experience the world of kickboxing. Players are born, champions are made.
Hey guys, welcome back to Let's Talk, and it's Josh here with OpenMic. And today we have a very special guest. His name is Mark Greubel, owner of Greubel's MMA and head coach of Team USA Kickboxing. Today we're going to be diving into the history behind the place and the culture of martial arts as it's developed here. So let's get into it. How you doing, Mark?
I'm doing good.
All right. So we have a quick question. We know that you do a lot when it comes to what goes on around here. But we were wondering, how did you first get introduced to this world of kickboxing, martial arts?
So when I was about 14 years old, all I had done up until that point was Taekwondo and karate. I got into a street fight where a guy wanted to fight me because I was Chinese, and I'm not even Chinese, so it was kind of ridiculous. But either way, I got my arm destroyed in the street fight, had to get my elbow reconstructed. And that was a real big eye-opener for me, and it was a real helpless feeling to be able to not do anything to stop someone from punching you, like, you know, and your arm's completely mangled. So I took it upon myself to search out a different martial art that could maybe teach me how to fight on the ground, and it was right about the time that the Ultimate Fighting Championship was coming out, and I was watching this guy, Hoist Gracie, just like, you know, wreck guys that were much bigger than him, much more stronger than him, great strikers, and it really piqued my interest. So even though I'm the head coach for Team USA Kickboxing, my initial interest was more towards the jiu-jitsu side. As I started training, I started realizing that I was a much more talented striker. So I went on to go and be a competitive kickboxer and boxer. I was undefeated, was two-time U.S. champion. My brother went on to become a 6-time world champion, and, you know, we won a couple of world titles out of my mom's garage.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how you got your start. You figured out you had a knack for training people?
Initially, it was for self-defense.
Oh, okay.
You know, it was the discipline, learning as a child, learning the discipline of the martial arts. And then as I got a little bit older into my teen years, it became more of a thing where I needed to learn how to, like, truly defend myself. So I started diving into other martial arts that, you know, could help with the different aspects and ranges of fighting, like wrestling and jiu-jitsu and boxing and kickboxing.
What do you love most about martial arts?
I love martial arts because it's honest. Like, if you're not putting in the effort to win your fight, like if you have a sanctioned fight coming up, you're not going to perform well. So having that self-motivation to want to succeed at that particular goal is really cool, because I was always in high school anyways, like doing team sports like baseball and things like that, and it was sometimes demotivating when you lost because of somebody else's, you know, lack of effort or poor effort, you know what I mean? So this is something that you have to put the work in, you know, and when you do that, I mean, the sky's the limit. You know, I never thought I would be a champion, and in fact, my first goals when I started kickboxing was to be able to go 3 sparring rounds with a state champion. That was my goal. Like, I did not think, I did not think I was going to be able to be at the top of the heap at one point. You know, I mean, my first day of sparring, I had to spar with Zach Day, who was a national champion, Paul Pierman, national champion, Jack Nielsen, who was like eventually in the UFC, he was 6'3", 240 something pounds. Kim Lane, Luis Rodriguez, all these guys were already like state and national champions, and it was my first day of sparring, and I got wrecked. They did not take it easy on me, but, you know, it builds some resilience, you know, when you're going in there. The guys are, they were sparring hard, but they were also trying to help me out. They wanted me to get better because when I got stronger, more resilient, I could push them harder. So it was this kind of give and take where, we could push each other to the point.
Across your career, do you have a favorite moment?
Yeah, it was like a year or two ago. We were at the national tournament, or actually maybe it was the North American tournament for Waco kickboxing, and I had a student named Cameron Martin, and he kind of had a rough start when he entered into his amateur career. Like, he lost his first 4 fights, and I think the last loss he had was against a guy named Ethan, who was unbelievable fighter. He was a very experienced point fighter, so I think he was 54-0 or something like that.
Oh my
He
goodness.
never lost in point fighting.
That's a lot.
And he was 3-0 in kickboxing. So he had a very good coach, very well schooled, very technical, tough kid. Like, he had the whole package, right? So Cameron went to go fight him and was doing actually pretty well. He got caught, and it just changed his mentality in that fight. So he ended up losing that fight, right? But we worked very hard the next year.
Yeah.
I took Cameron to some places where, we went down to Deontay Wilder's gym, and I took him to go box down there. I wanted to tighten up his boxing. The only guy they had down there his size was a national Golden Gloves champion. And so Cameron sucked it up, and he went in there, and he sparred with this guy, and the guy got the better of him, right? But Cameron learned so much. Because we went back down there again, and I can't remember if it was the exact same guy or not, but it was an amazing transformation. Like, he did so good. So I was really impressed with his progress, especially in the boxing realm. So when we got to the national tournament, the first guy he fought was built like a tank. He was just knocking everybody out, and Cameron smoked him. I mean, it was awesome. So after Cameron fought that guy, I think he had one more fight before, or maybe he fought Ethan next. So yeah, he fought Ethan next. So this was the guy that he lost to, that had like 54 wins, yada yada yada. And then when Cameron was fighting him, it was it was neck and neck. But Ethan was pulling away just a little bit, right? So it was in between the second and the third round. And Cameron sat down, and I said, "All right, kid, you're gonna have to put your foot on the gas. It's a close fight. You understand?" "Yes, sir, I understand." "Okay, you can." I said, "You can beat this kid." I said, "You know that, right?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "You believe that, right?" And he went like this. He went, and I said, "Oh my God, I never had anybody do that in the corner ever." And I was like, "Oh God, think, how are we gonna get this kid to win, right?" So I waited until he got back out in the ring, and Cameron hit him with a right hand, and I said, "You're winning, Cameron, you're winning, go, go, go." And his whole demeanor just changed.
Yeah.
Right? And my whole team got to experience that. The other coach is going crazy. He's like, he's not winning. And I'm screaming, "You're winning, Cameron, you're winning, go, go." And everybody on my team started to pick up on what I was doing, right?
Yeah.
And I had to tell Cameron something that would motivate him. So I just told him he was winning. And he started winning.
Yeah.
And we got to the last 13 seconds of the fight. And by the way, Cameron did knock the guy down, which should have gave Cameron the win for that fight. He ended up losing the fight by 1 point in the last 13 seconds of the fight. But had he gotten the full 2 point for his knockdown, he'd have won that fight. So that was a referee botching of that fight. It is what it is. It happens. We were elated. And I was so happy as a coach. Even though Cameron lost that fight, it didn't matter. Because what he won in return for that was irreparable. I mean, what do you call it? It was something that he could never, ever forget, right? He now knew that the only difference between him losing the first 2 rounds and smoking him in that 3rd round was the fact that he believed in himself.
Oh, okay.
And the whole team understood, like, through and through what that moment was. And I was so glad that I brought a team up there and they all got to witness it. And once they believed that they could do it, it really motivated and changed the way everyone went into their next few fights. It was really a really cool moment. His parents were crying. I was crying. Cameron was crying. Like, it was a really cool moment, man. You know, because I could see how much he didn't believe in himself those first 2 rounds. He was holding back. He wasn't hitting as hard as he could. He was giving the guy too much respect. And, you know, with all that being said, they're amazing friends right now. You know, we go into these things and we beat the hell out of each other. And at the end of it, you know, we know that we're in there trying to help each other out. You know, it's not malicious. Even if, you know, someone's going hard, you know, some of the guys leading up to their fights, they want to go harder, you know, and they need that little bit more of a push to get to that peak fight level, you know. That's not for everybody, you know. That's for more hardcore people that are continuing to try to be a champion or something like that. But you can take that same analogy and use it for anything. Like, okay, I'm gassing out on my mitt work about 1 minute through. Maybe I'm going to push it a little bit harder, and I'm going to try not to get gassed out until 1 minute 10 seconds, and then 1 minute 30 seconds, and then 2 minutes, and then 3 minutes. So you can use that metaphor for like anything.
Oh, okay.
You know.
We're here with one of Mark's students at Greubel's MMA. His name is Cameron Martin, and I have a quick question for you. What kind of martial arts do you train in?
I trained kickboxing, but when I started off as a kid for a little bit, I was doing jiu-jitsu. Then when I found my passion, I stayed with kickboxing.
Okay. And how long have you been doing this?
Since I was 7 years old. I'm 19 years old now. 19.
Oh, okay. And did you start with Mark?
Yes. I've been with Mark since I was 7.
How do you like your training experience with working with Mark?
Good. So the things with Mark is that so with different fighters, he don't make everybody fight the same. He finds what your what you're good at and what you're not good at. So like you would say, some people fast, some people slow. You find out a way around it for you to be at your best ability.
Okay. Is there any advice that you give to people that are starting off? Because we know you started at a pretty young age. There's people that enter at young ages, older ages. What kind of advice could you give for people like that?
Honestly, it's really sticking to it, finding your passion, and like being coachable, not always being stuck up, know how to listen, because like with Mark, he led me in the right path. Like he led me in no wrong directions. Everything he gave me, it's been on the right path, and like positivity and really trusting your coach.
Okay. And how do you feel as far as where you're at and where you're going with your career in martial arts?
I feel good. I feel like I'm going far. I would say when I started off, I had lost 4 fights in a row.
Okay.
I lost 4 fights in a row. It was kind of like I was down. I wanted to keep doing this, and I kept going. And then like when I got my first win, and then I had lost to this dude named Ethan the second time. It really showed me to believe in yourself, and it really starts to up here.
Okay.
And so that's why I was fighting it the most, and so when that happened, I say like months later, I had fought somewhere in South Carolina for Gaffney, and I fought for a title, and I came to state the region champ for South Carolina, and after that, I say like a week later, I fought in the undercard USA versus Spain, and and I had won on that, I smoked the dude, and then I say like months later, I was getting ready for preparing for the World Championships for juniors, and all the way in Italy.
And how old are you?
19.
Man, so you've done a lot already.
Yeah.
And how did you deal with the emotional impact of those losses, and what did you do to encourage yourself moving forward from those?
So really, what it was is that, so with them 4 losses, when I kept losing, I was gonna say I know I was good at it. It was just more of like I know I can't give up. Like it was just staying in my head. I'm not gonna give up. I'm not gonna give up. People saying I can't do it. People saying I never be this, never be that. Like a lot of people think like I wasn't gonna win this belt, or I can't win nationals. I always came in all my fights that I was always an underdog, and I always came out on top. It was just more of that. It was really just up here like mental. So so that's a big thing with the fight game is mental. If your mental's not strong, it's not gonna take you far. And I really learned that them four losses. I really learned that.
So Cameron, we know that you've won numerous accolades over your career just so far, even at 19. Can you tell us a little bit about your belts and your medals that you've gotten over the years?
Yeah. So I say really where it started it was my first one was my belt. It was all the way up in Gaffney, South Carolina. I fought the dude. It was an adult fight. I'd say that first it was a 5-rounder, 2-minute rounds. It was so like far into conditioning. it was like my first title fight. So I was kind of not scared, but it was like, this fight's gonna be long. So it's like I wasn't scared, but when I got in there, it was I smoked the dude from round 1, round 5, and so it was a good fight. It really showed me what I was capable of doing. I won the belt. I was really happy. I must not say happy, but I was very happy with myself and knowing what I can be able to do. And after that, that's when I had took off to get ready for World Championships in September, like late September, early October. I came in as the unranked guy. I had like 9 guys in my bracket. And the first guy I pulled was this kid from Bosnia. Had a bunch of knockouts, pro. He was the second ranked in the bracket. And everybody thought I was going to lose. And I killed him. And then that's when I had ranked 3rd in the world. And I had lost in the semifinals to the number 1 ranked guy.
Okay.
Right now I'm ranked 3rd in the world. And then my recent was my nationals, when I had won nationals. That was in May. This May. I came in my first adult fight, first adult vision, and then I had a pack. I had a four-man bracket. No, we had 4-man bracket. I had got to buy first round. I ended up fighting on the Saturday in the semifinals, and I smoked him. And then after that I ended up fighting the finals.
Mm-hmm.
When I fought the finals, it was I wouldn't say it was a close fight, but it got really good. And I ended up dropping him with a body shot in the late second round. Thought he wasn't going to get up. Got up, and he went back to the corner. My coach was like, you got to stay on him. And then I had dropped him twice in the 3rd round with the same punch. And it was like 5 seconds left. And I hit him again. And then it was the match. And I was happy, tears of joy, knowing I won nationals.
All right, well, we're glad having you on Let's Talk. And thank you so much for answering our questions. We can't wait to see where you're heading at in the future.
All right, yeah, thank you.
Do you think that... I know that a lot of people say for any kind of sport, it's 10% physical and the rest of it is mental. Do you believe that is one of the things that athletes face?
It is definitely one of the biggest hurdles. I had took my whole team and got them trained on this psychology of combat. And to this day, I still teach guys the psychology of combat, what happens to your body, like the physiological changes that happen chemically in your body that, like the huge adrenaline dump, the fight or flight response, all of those things. So they understand when they go into that response. And there's certain things that are like really good clues. Like, for instance, when somebody goes into fight or flight, let's say they get hit really hard and they just start swinging for dear life, mm-hmm. right? One of the things you lose is fine motor control. So like writing your signature or smiling. Like these are fine motor controls. But if you're in a rage, you're left with gross motor movement, which may be swing for dear life or run. These are all like survival mechanisms. You're no longer thinking with your cortex, but you're thinking with your limbic system, so that sits on top of your brainstem, under your brain, and it just dumps all these chemicals into your body to make you go, dude, wake up. You got to do something about this, So like if a lion walked into this room right now and roared to the top of its lungs, everybody in here is going to do one of 3 things. They're going to fight like hell, they're going to run like hell, or they're going to be silent as hell and hope they don't become dinner.
Survival.
That's it. That's right. It's a survival instinct. So when that happens, it's like, how do you pull yourself out of that in the middle of a fight? It's really difficult,
And it's interesting you bring it up that way because a lot of people, especially people starting off, they believe that there isn't much of a science behind it, but the way that you're talking about it, I can tell that there's so many subtleties that you have to pay attention to when it comes to it. With that being said, I do have a question about how your approach is when you are interacting with your students. Mm-hmm. What is the approach that you have when you're interacting with your students?
I like to use small layers of stress, right? You add on tiny little layers of stress so they become a little bit stronger,
Yeah.
And then you build them up so there's different levels. Like when somebody walks through the door to join the gym, there's already a level of stress. It's crazy. Like you could see fight or flight on people when they just walk into the gym, Then once they get into the classroom, they realize it wasn't as bad as they thought it was. So they relax a little bit, but then they start doing the physical component of the classes. And it can be hard for somebody coming in off the couch, but it should be because they were inactive, right? So we start building them to be a little bit stronger. So my beginner classes are at a certain level, physical fitness. As they go to the intermediate classes, the physical demand goes up. The amount of rest comes down. And then after the intermediate, classes, there's other levels that if people want to take it there, they can start to spar. They can try to actively do a live sparring session in front of people. That's a whole nother ballgame because now you got the psychological component of, I have this set opponent 2 months down the road and I have to prepare for this guy and he's preparing for me. It can be a little frightening, right? And then actual competition, and then becoming a champion, and then becoming a pro, and then becoming a pro champion, etc. So the levels of stress just keep piling on.
So another thing that I was wondering about was, is there any kind of advice, given the level of experience that you have with this, that you would give to any aspiring mixed martial artists, kickboxers?
Be coachable. Like, don't come in as a know-it-all. For a coach, that's super frustrating. It's like you're walking in the door and the coach has 30, 40, 50 years of experience and you're telling him how many street fights you got into. It's like the wrong approach. Nobody cares about that, okay? You came to get like proper schooling, So knocking somebody off of a bar stool doesn't take a lot of talent, And that's not what I want to train here. I want people to learn how to be able to get to a point where they can control their anger and they just don't go beating somebody up because they're pissed off because they called them a bad word or they cut them off in traffic. I mean, that is ridiculous to come to blows with someone.
Understanding the art behind it.
Yeah, because part of the art is mental. Mm-hmm. If you can win a fight without throwing a punch, man, that's the highest level of fighting. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And one last question I have for you. What is the mission of your brand?
I just want to help people.
Okay.
I and everything that I've done in the gym, I want to help people. Like I opened the gym because I despise bullies.
Yeah.
I wanted to find an effective way to help people be more confident, be more capable, be more physically fit, have a better quality of life.
Oh, okay.
And, I've done a lot of stuff in the community, too. I have a class. I work with the Wrecking Crew, and we take kids with autism who otherwise would not be able to enjoy or experience martial arts, and they get to come in here and work out with us, and it's a special class just for them. I have a program at the VA where I train veterans that have battle wounds or PTSD, and it gives them something to kind of focus their energy on that's positive, that's going to build their body, but also build their brain in a sense, because when you're doing all these, complicated martial arts moves, you have to use your brain. So I'm getting their wheels turning again, getting the juices flowing again, all the endorphins that the body needs to not be depressed. It's a really remarkable thing, some of the changes that I've seen in people. I had one kid come in, he was 5'6", 250 pounds at 5'6". I think he did a little bit of work. When he got to me, he was about 190 or 200 pounds. Still, he's 5'6". By the time I was done with him, he was fighting at 132 to 140, and he became a 3-time world champion. So you can't tell me that the confidence that somebody like that would get from what we do is not valuable. There was another girl who was really shy and meek, and she's one of my favorite stories because she was just so shy. She wouldn't say a word to anyone, And then she had this amazing physical transformation within 3 months, completely changed her social circle, her ability to just be herself and come out of her shell. It was really cool, man. And then eventually, I think after 6 months or a year, she took a public sparring session, or we call them smoker fights. They're not really fights; they're sparring sessions. Like we put the big gloves and headgear on, but it was in front of her friends and her family. So it's another layer of stress, and that's kind of what I like to do, is add these small layers of stress.
I have to say, I did not expect that I was going to learn so much in talking with you. I really appreciate the fact that you took time to be on the show.
No, thank you.
I just wanted to say thank you. So thanks for being on the show.
Thanks a lot.
Mark Greubel, everybody.